All right, welcome to part two. In part one, we did sum and difference formulas for cosine, and this is where we left off. So here we are going to do the sum and difference formulas for sine and tangent. Okay, this one's going to be short. Okay, so this is 5.2, part two. Okay, so the sum formula for sine and the difference formula for sine look very similar to the ones for cosine. So make sure you pay attention to the differences. All right, so for cosine, it was cosine cosine minus sine sine, right? Here, it's going to alternate. So it's going to be sine A cosine B um, plus, and then it's going to be cosine A sine B. Okay. And then for the difference, the only thing that's going to be different is the sign. Okay. And that is in sine, S-I-N-E, sine as in S-I-G-N. All right. Okay, so it's going to be sine A cosine B minus cosine A sine B. Okay, so we have these two formulas that will also be on that formula sheet. Okay, so let's see here. So let's find, it works the same way. So that's why this video is very short. So find the exact value of, it's going to be an angle we don't have memorized, of sine pi over 12. Okay, so now we're in radians. When we looked at cosine, we were in degrees. So radians, it's helpful to have them written down, but it's, okay, let's take a look. We have, before I go any further. Okay, so we know we have pi over 6, pi over 4, and pi over 3 memorized, right? We know that pi over 6 is the same as 30 degrees, pi over 4 is the same as 45 degrees, and pi over 3 is the same as 60 degrees. Okay, so these are the ones we have memorized, but I'm not going to list them in terms of sixths, fourths, and thirds because here this is pi over 12, right? And this is supposed to be the sum or difference of two of these angles that we have memorized. And so instead of writing them in terms of sixths, fourths, and thirds, I'm going to write them in terms of the LCD, which is 12. All right, so pi over 6, so I got to multiply by 2 over 2. So that's 2 pi over 12. Oh, let's start with 0. Okay, 2 pi over 12. And then here, I have to multiply by 3 over 3, so that's 3 pi over 12. And then over here, I have to multiply by 4, so that's 4 pi over 12. And then we'll hit 90 degrees, 90 degrees, which is pi over 2, right? So I'll multiply that by 6. Okay. And then you can keep going if you want to. If you don't get any combinations, for whatever they're asking. If you're like, ooh, I don't have anything that makes the angle that they're asking for, then extend your list. So we would do, which one is that? That would be 5 pi over 6, 5 pi over 6 in quadrant 2, 1, 4, 2 fourths, 3 fourths, 3 pi over 4 in quadrant 2. These are the ones in quadrant 1. These are the ones in quadrant 2. 3 pi over 4, and then 2 pi over 3, and then pi. Okay. So you could just, again, get these to be 12. So multiply by 2, you get 5 twelfths. Multiply by 3, you get 9 twelfths. Multiply by 4, and you would get 8 pi. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right, so sine of pi over 12, I can already see that I can use two choices. I can do 3 pi minus 2 pi, or I can use 4 pi minus 3 pi, and I'll get 1 pi over 12. Okay, all right, so let's just put a little notice. You have two choices. Two choices to make pi over 12. Okay, pi over 12. All right, I'm going to use the 3 minus 2. 3 minus 2 to get 1. Okay. Again, it doesn't matter which one you use. If you choose 3 pi minus 2 pi to get the 1 pi, or if you choose the 4 pi minus 3 pi to get the 1 pi, you will get the same answer at the end. Okay, so just kind of notice this. All right, so sine of pi over 12. Okay, so I am going to rewrite pi over 12 as the difference, 3 pi over 12 minus 2 pi over 12. Okay. All right, so, and these guys are originally pi over 4 and pi over 6. Okay. But it's hard to see that. It's hard to see uh, which one makes pi over 12 when they're written like this. That's why I make the list using 12s. Okay. All right. So now A is pi over 4 and B is pi over 6. So now I'm going to use my difference formula, this one right here. So it's going to be sine A cosine B minus cosine A sine B. All right, so this is going to be sine A cosine B minus cosine A sine B. All right, and so here, sine of pi over 4, that is something we have memorized, square root 2 over 2. Cosine of pi over 6 is square root 3 over 2. Cosine pi over 4 is square root 2 over 2. And sine of pi over 6 is 1/2. So we're back to getting these 6s, 4s, and 3s and 2s. Okay. All right, so we get square root 6 minus square root 2 all over 4. Okay. All right, let's do tangent because they all work the same way. Find two angles that either add up or subtract to give you the one that they are asking for. Okay, so let's do one with tangent. So let's get the sum and difference formulas for tangent. Tangent's sum and difference formula is very different from sine and cosine. So when they're asking you to write it as a single trig function, just remember cosine has sine, sine, cosine, cosine. Here, let's go back up. Okay, so cosine has cosine, cosine, sine, sine, whereas sine has sine, cosine, cosine, sine. Okay, they're mixed. Okay, uh, let's do tangents formulas. So tangent of a plus b, and we'll do tangent of a minus b. All right, tangent of a plus b is going to be tangent a plus tangent b, very different, all over 1 minus tangent A times tangent B. Okay, so that's one. And then the other one for the difference, very similar. So here it's going to be minus, the signs just change. Okay, and here it'll be plus. Okay. These will also be on the formula sheet. Okay, so let's do an example. And maybe I'll do it right here on the side so we can keep the formula visible. All right, so let's find the exact value. Find the exact value of tangent 7 pi over 12. Okay. All right, so tangent 7 pi over 12 is going to equal. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to scroll up to where I have my list of radians in twelfths. Okay, we want 7 pi over 12. We want 7. All right, so we want 7. So looks like we're going to go with these two. 3 plus 4 is 7. All right. 3 pi over 12 plus, hold on a second. I forgot my tan. Okay. 3 pi over 12 plus 4 pi over 12. Okay. Let's simplify these so we can get back to the original ones so they look more familiar to us. Pi over 4 and pi over 3. Okay, so that's our A and that's our B. So this is going to equal, and we are using the sum. So we're using this one. So tangent A is tangent pi over 4 plus tangent B, which is pi over 3, all over 1 minus the product of these two. Tangent pi over 4, tangent pi over 3. Okay? And so tangent of pi over 4 is 1. Tangent of pi over 3 is square root 3. We have that 1. And then we take the product of the two above. Okay? So then here, we get 1 plus square root 3 all over 1 minus square root 3. Okay, I don't know where WebAssign wants you to stop with your answer. Try this one when you enter it. If it doesn't take that, it might say rationalize the denominator, in which case, here, this is how you rationalize. Quick lesson. Rationalize denominator, in which case they don't want you to have a square root. Okay, so here. They don't want you to have a square root in the denominator. Okay, so if you get something like this and they don't accept this answer, then go ahead and rationalize it by multiplying by the reciprocal, not the reciprocal, the, what is that word? Gosh, I'm having a senior moment. Okay. All right. So anyway, if this is 1 minus square root 3, the conjugate. Okay, so the conjugate of the denominator. So if this is 1 minus square root 3, then we want to multiply by the conjugate, which is 1 plus square root 3 over itself. Okay. And this is how you rationalize the denominator. What happens is when you multiply conjugates, then what happens is, okay, on top, we have this twice. We'll deal with that later. Okay, so what happens here is you get the difference of squares. So you end up with 1 minus the square of 3, which is just 3. And that's how you get rid of your square root in the denominator. Okay, so here, again, not sure where WebAssign will take your final answer. So try this one as well. 1 minus 3 is -2. So see if it will take this. If it still doesn't take that, then we'll need to multiply this one out. And that's easy to do. 1 plus 2 square root 3 plus 3 all over -2. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 plus 2 square root 3 over -2. They're all divisible by 2. So I get 2 plus square root 3 over negative 1. I can distribute that negative 1 on top, so I get negative 2 minus square root 3. They're probably going to take this one. So make sure you can do this. Most books expect you to do all of this work. So I'm guessing that WebAssign is no different. Okay? All right, so that is it for sine and oh, did we finish this? Okay, no, we didn't. Okay, so the final answer is negative 2 minus square root 3. Okay, and all the work is here to get this answer. Okay, but again, give it a try. Maybe they're different and they will allow the square root in the denominator. If not, then you got to go through all of this. Okay, and you'll end up with that. Okay, so that is it for the sine and cosine. Stay tuned for part 3, where we do some more interesting problems.